Tipping culture, mandatory 15-20% in America versus confusion and resistance in China. Picture this. You've just finished dinner in New York. The server drops off the check. You glance at the total, pull out your phone calculator and start sweating. Do you tip 15%, 18%, 20% because they refilled your Diet Coke without you asking? In America, the meal isn't really over until you've solved this math test at the bottom of the bill. Now hop over to Beijing. The server brings your check. You leave a few extra yuan on the table, smiling politely. Moments later, the waiter rushes after you, waving the money. "Sir, you forgot your change!" In China, leaving a tip isn't gratitude, it's confusion. So how did tipping become a mandatory ritual in America, but a cultural head-scratcher in China? Let's dig into this wallet-draining culture clash. America, where tips aren't optional. In the United States, tipping isn't just encouraged, it's expected, enforced, and practically sacred. Restaurant servers are legally paid below minimum wage in many states, with the assumption that tips will make up the difference. The social contract is clear. If you eat, you tip, usually 15 to 20% of the bill. And it doesn't stop at restaurants. Haircuts, tip, taxi rides, tip, hotel housekeeping, tip, coffee shops with tip jars glaring at you. Yes, tip, because if you don't, the barista might judge your soul. Even self-checkout kiosks have started asking for tips, which raises the philosophical question, do we now tip robots? Fail to tip in America and you risk public shaming. Your friends will gasp, the server will glare. Somewhere a bald eagle will shed a tear. China, where tipping is a foreign concept. In China, the idea of tipping has historically been non-existent. Restaurants, hotels, and service industries build the cost of labor directly into prices. You pay the bill, you're done. No math test required. Why? Part of it comes from cultural values. Traditional Chinese hospitality emphasizes service as an honor, not something that needs extra payment. A waiter or waitress is already doing their duty, so tipping can feel awkward, almost insulting, like you're saying, "You're poor, take this charity." At many restaurants, if you try to leave extra money, staff will chase you down to return it. They see it as honesty, not stinginess. Even in big cities like Shanghai or Beijing, tipping isn't the norm, except in hotels or tourist areas influenced by Western visitors. The math problem versus the money back. Let's compare the two experiences. In America, you finish your $100 dinner. Now comes the pop quiz. 15% equals $15, 18% equals $18, 20% equals $20. If the service was just okay, you debate whether 15% will mark you as cheap. Finally, you leave $18 and hope you've passed the social exam. In China, you finish your 300 yuan dinner, you try to leave 30 yuan for the waiter runs after you, waving the bill. You gave too much, you awkwardly explain it's a tip, the waiter insists on giving it back. Both of you bow, smile, and leave slightly embarrassed. One culture pressures you to give extra, the other pressures you not to. The psychology of tipping. In America, tipping is tied to performance. Did the server smile enough? Did they check on you often? Did they bring the ketchup quickly? Your tip becomes a Yelp review in cash form. Servers know this, so they pour on the charm, sometimes literally refilling your water every 5 minutes just to earn those extra dollars. In China, service isn't seen as a performance to be graded, it's part of the job. The focus is on efficiency, not flattery. You might not get a waiter introducing themselves by name or cracking jokes, but your food will arrive fast, and nobody will hover awkwardly to earn points. Travel confusion. Americans in China, Chinese in America. This culture clash really hits when people travel. Americans in China, they keep leaving tips out of habit. The staff keeps chasing them down to return the money. Eventually, the Americans stop trying and wonder if they've been rude the whole time. Chinese in America. They pay only the bill, forgetting the tip. The server glares. The credit card slip has a sad, empty tip line. Suddenly, the Chinese tourist's photo is pinned in the kitchen with "Do Not Serve" written underneath. It's not malice, just mismatched expectations. When tipping feels awkward in America, even Americans sometimes get tipping fatigue. The mandatory tip percentage keeps creeping upward. It used to be 10%, then 15%, now 20% is the new standard. In some places, the receipt comes with suggested tip boxes that start at 20%, as if 15% is an insult. And then there's guilt tipping. You grab a muffin at a bakery, pay with a card, and the tablet screen flips toward you with options. 18%, 20%, 25%. The cashier is staring. The customer behind you is staring. You press 20% for a $3 muffin, then cry later in the parking lot. When tipping feels awkward in China. In China, tipping is awkward in the opposite way. In tourist-heavy spots, staff may accept it, but in everyday places, they'll resist. A taxi driver might refuse your extra yuan, or a restaurant might politely decline. In rare cases, accepting tips can even be against company policy. The result? Tourists trying to be generous end up embarrassed, while locals watch the confusion like it's free entertainment. Generational shifts. Globalization is changing things. Younger Chinese, especially those who've studied abroad, are more familiar with tipping. In international hotels or Western-style cafes, tips are slowly becoming more acceptable. In America, some restaurants are experimenting with no-tipping policies, raising menu prices to pay staff directly. But the tipping culture is so ingrained that many customers still leave extra cash anyway, unable to break the habit. Symbolism beyond the bill. At its core, tipping reflects deeper cultural values. In America, tipping symbolizes individual choice and reward for service. It's capitalism on your dinner plate. You pay more if someone smiles enough. In China, refusing tips symbolizes equality and honesty. Service is duty, not performance. The price you pay is the final price, no emotional math added. Neither system is perfect. One stresses you out with math problems, the other stresses you out with social awkwardness. The Great Compromise. So what happens when East meets West? The best solution is simple. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. In America, tip. Even if you're confused, even if the service was average, just tip. Servers depend on it. In China, don't tip unless you're at a westernized hotel or a tourist trap. If you try, be prepared for the money to be returned with a polite smile. Conclusion, the tip of the iceberg. At the end of the day, tipping isn't really about money, it's about culture. In America, it's mandatory gratitude, a financial thumbs up for service. In China, it's an unnecessary gesture, sometimes even insulting. So next time you're traveling, pay attention to what's expected. In the US, calculate your percentage and pay up. In China, relax. You're free from the math test. Because whether you're fumbling with percentages in New York or being chased down with your forgotten change in Beijing, one truth is clear. Tipping may be small change, but it reveals big cultural differences. If you enjoy our videos, please like and subscribe to our channel, The Culture Clash Cafe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when we release new content.